Hello friends on YouTube. In today's video, we're going to cover the useContext hook in React. So before we understand the benefits of useContext, let's just understand what we used to do before that. So as React developers, we used to write components and pass props into child components, and passing props into deeper level of components could become a huge mess, which is also called prop drilling. So if you wanted to add a prop, you would need to pass that into all components to get it work. So the benefit of using context is that we can lift all props up into a global context, which can be accessed by any component no matter which level or how deep it's nested. So it boils down to this: we create a context and provide the values that the components can access and use. And this is done by wrapping the components inside a context and providing the values, and everything that's going to use the context is going to be the consumers. So that's how simple it is. So let's just create our own context from the ground up. Alright, so for this example, we're going to create a folder called context, and inside this folder, I just create a file called app context. Alright, so inside the app context, all we're gonna do is first, we're gonna say import something from React, and the something that we're going to import is going to be the create context. Alright, so the next step is going to be to create the context, and the context that we are going to create, I'm just gonna call it app context. So let's say app context, and then we're just gonna call this create context. Alright, so now you just created a context there. Alright, so the next step is going to be to create the provider. So we're gonna say const app provider. You can name it anything you want. It's going to be an arrow function which takes in a prop, and the prop is going to be the children. Now you want to say return, and then we're going to say app context dot provider. So we're going to wrap around the children. All right, so all the children that's going to use this provider will have access to the values that we provide. All right, so we need to export this, and then we can also export the whole file. So export default app context. Perfect. So now we just created a context, but we're not providing anything. So we need to provide some kind of information. So let's just make something simple here. We're going to say const name equals my name. All right. And this app context provider takes in a prop, and this prop is called value, and you can pass in the name in here. All right, now this is done. Now go to the index.js, because we're going to use the context by wrapping around the app, and the app will have access to all of the data that is provided by the context there. All right, so first we need to import app provider from the context, and then we're gonna say app provider just like this, and then we're gonna put the app in there. Later on, we can go to the app.js, and here we're gonna do two things. So to access the context, first we need to say import useContext from React. And we also need to import the main context. We're going to say app context, just like that. And then inside the app, we're going to say const value, because this is going to hold the context value. And then we're going to say use context app context. Perfect. Which means that if we now go to our component, or anything that's nested within this app component can access the context. So we can say React, and then let's just say value here. So it will say React, and then the name that we provided from the context there. All right, so let's have a recap here. So the first step is going to be to create a context. We import the create context, and then we create a context. After that, we're gonna make a provider, and this provider takes in children, which is the component that's going to use the provider. And then we can pass in some value into the value prop, and then all the children has access to this value. And we need to do that by going to the index.js. First, we're gonna say import app provider, and inside the app, we can say import use context, and then import the main context, and then we're going to make a variable where we say use context, and then you have this, we can say React, and then we can say curly braces the value, which holds the context value. So if you learned something new in this video, make sure to hit the thumbs up for more videos like this.